son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. It's throwback weekend, and we head to Darlington for the Bojangles Southern 500. Stages this week are going to be at laps 100, lap 200, and then they will go the final 167 laps all the way to the finish.
Interesting fact here at Darlington is Toyota has won the last three races here, with Ford's last win coming in 2006 when Greg Biffle won back-to-back in 2005 and 2006. With Ford's domination in 2018, will that stat change by the end of the checkered flag on Sunday night?
Man, I miss the Biffle. You just saying that made me miss the Biffle.
The Biff.
The Biff. Slight chance of rain when we go racing 6 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports Network. Hopefully we don't even have to worry about it this week. It'll be nice. Now let's deal with the big three as we've had to every week this year. I'll go ahead and get them out of the way, and then we'll ask Liehr his opinions on it. First of the big three, we have Rowdy Kyle Busch. He's starting fifth. He's 12,400. He's had top 10 finishes in 5 of his last 6 here, including an 11th place finish. But he's only had 2 top 5s and hasn't won here since 2008. Next, we have Harvick, who's starting 22nd. Yeah, that's right, 22nd. He's 11,400 and has 5 consecutive top 10s here, with a win and 4 top 5s. You also then have Martin Truex Jr. starting third, is 10,900. He has a win here and 5 top 10s, including 3 top 10s in his last 3 races at Darlington. I'm personally leaning towards Harvick. I just think that is a easy 17 points plus place differential, and even though he's expensive, I'm kind of fading Rowdy and Truex at the moment. Liehr, what are your thoughts on the big three?
Yeah, brother. Great to be back with everybody this week. But I'm right there with you, dude. Kind of hard to deny the fact that Harvick's starting from that 22nd position. But obviously with salaries and his salary being $11,400, and there's 2 other guys that are more expensive than that with Busch and Larson, it really hinders what you can do this weekend with your lineups. But I'm definitely going to have quite a bit of exposure on Harvick. And then as far as Rowdy Busch, surprisingly enough, man, this may come back to haunt me. I'll have a little bit of exposure, I think, on him, but not a ton. Just because, I don't know, it just seems like Darlington is not one of his better tracks. And, on Friday this weekend, that team didn't really show any major speed. He was 4th fastest in the Skittles Retro with the throwback to Ernie Irvan. And he was fastest in 10-lap averages on the final practice. But I don't know, man. I don't really have that much affinity for Kyle Busch this weekend. And then just real quick, too, to go back to Harvick, man, I don't know if you saw what happened today with the Xfinity race with him and Ross Chastain, but Harvick's got a little bit of a fire underneath him for tomorrow because sounds like, they're kind of both blaming each other for what happened in that race today. But, Harvick's going to want to come out and, shut everybody down tomorrow, especially from that 22nd position. So I'm really going to have the exposure on Harvick. And then as far as Truex, the news and everything swirling around with him and possibly, what he's going to be facing, next year with Furniture Row Racing and them not having enough sponsorship to keep a full-time ride. He's going to want to come and perform and do well. And starting from that 3rd position, he had a pretty dominant performance here last year. So I am going to have some exposure on Truex for sure. Just wish my birthday would have gone better 2 weeks ago when we last filmed, and I was the only one with Truex in the $500 qualifier, and both my guys, Kyle Busch and took out Martin Truex, so made it for not such a way I wanted it to end on Saturday night on the 18th. But I'll tell you what, man, here at Darlington, he's definitely a guy that has got the experience, and that team's got the speed. So they did show speeds during practices, so they came off the truck and got a fast car this weekend. So look out for them to be a dominator as well this weekend. But as far as Harvick, I could just see him, man, coming right through the field and getting up to the front, especially with this long 500, Southern 500 with, 367 laps.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a chance that he's going to make his way up to the top and lead some laps, plus those place differential points, man. He's got a chance to be a big-time point scorer this weekend.
All right, before we get into the rest of the picks, let's talk a little bit about Truex's situation, because I think it's emblematic of NASCAR's problems. When the last season's champion can't get a sponsor for his ride, and it's not even a full sponsor. See, he still has Bass Pro Shops and Auto Owners Insurance that run his car, so he's needing a partial sponsorship. The 5 Hour Energy is getting out. I don't understand why the champion in this sport, somebody that has been one of the big three, like the biggest names, getting advertisement all over that car, can't find a sponsor for that ride. It's emblematic that NASCAR has major problems moving forward. And anybody that tells you they don't is just not aware of what the actual economics of NASCAR are.
Yeah, it's pretty pitiful, honestly. I mean, the guy that's the champion of the sport last season, one of the top 3 racers in the sport this season, can't possibly may have to move teams just because he can't find a freaking sponsor to sponsor that car. And I know it's a little different because, you've got these other major conglomerate teams with Hendrick with 4 cars and Joe Gibbs with 4 cars. And, and then you've got other teams that don't have that many, but have more than just 1 car. And Furniture Row Racing is the one and only for that team. So it does make it a little bit harder for potential sponsors to say, oh, yeah, we definitely want to be part of that. But, you would think that a guy with that much success in the sport, it wouldn't be that much of a problem. But, definitely with the amount of money that it costs to run these teams, it's definitely a major problem, man.
The big name teams also have problems finding sponsors for all of their rides. It's emblematic of the sport. The sport is having problems with sponsors. NASCAR is having problems finding a title sponsor and is thinking about farming that out to individual sponsors throughout the season next year. I'm just saying NASCAR is starting to show that they're in a bad place and they need to get it righted soon.
Well, and I also, too, think that has a lot to do with the issues of Brian France. And, we got the news that he is stepping away indefinitely. So I'm not sure that, the leadership has been there and trying to make the right decisions for the right reasons for the sport itself. I think, once they get his brother in there, and I assume that's who's going to take over for him. But he's much more somebody that's down to earth and really involved in NASCAR. So I'm hoping that they can right the ship and we can get things moving in the right direction to get NASCAR where it was in the past. And I know that obviously viewership and things change along time, but one of the big changes that they need to make is making it back to regular television. So if it's on NBC Sports, it needs to be on NBC, or Fox, it needs to be on Fox, or the major networks that you get with regular cable, and not have to have these special packages just to watch the sport that you love. So and I think a lot of it too, man, has to do with when they run. They run during Sunday afternoons most times, where if you're part of if you're not just a single person, you have a family and you have children, you're out and about doing things. You're not glued to the TV watching every single Sunday. And I think that hurts the sport as well.
Yeah, and I think we're entering a stretch where it's their championship, the championship stretch, where they're competing with football, and their race schedule times are poorly thought out for competing with football. Most every race in this stretch should start no earlier than 5 o'clock Eastern. And the reason I say that is you have to get at least through the morning games where everybody plays and starts getting football lag in the afternoon. And then you could embrace NASCAR, right? I think when you go toe-to-toe with football like that, you're going to lose every Sunday.
Right. I agree with you 100%.
But
that's why you got to move it to Saturday night.
We've ranted enough on NASCAR. Let's go ahead. But then you're competing with college football, man.
Right. True. Yeah.
So we've ranted enough about NASCAR's organizational problems. Let's get back into the picks. Liehr, do the honors, buddy. Throwback style.
I don't know how loud I can do this because it's almost 1:45 here, and got some people sleeping in the house, but got a couple doors and rooms between us. But Burning Robert Darlington stripe style, baby.
Way to work the Darlington stripe in there. All right, Liehr, who's your pick to burn some rubber this week, buddy?
Man, you got to get that stripe in there because that's something that's going to happen this weekend. I'm going to actually go with this guy's probably going to be a major driver that a lot of people will be picking, and he deserves to be, and there's no reason why he shouldn't. But I'm going to be going with Kyle Larson in the 42 team. The guys have gone winless this year in the 2018 campaign, but Larson is still obviously in great shape, currently in ninth in the driver's standings for the 2018 season. But obviously he would love to get his first checkered flag of the 2018 season and do it here at Darlington. Darlington is one of his better tracks that we run in the circuit, and he conforms basically the track, conforms to his best style of racing, which is running near the wall. In 4 starts here, he's got 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 3 top 10s. Last year, he started 4th, finished 14th, but led 124 laps, which is just over 33% of the total laps here, those 367. Each year, he has increased as far as his laps led here and gets more exposure to the lady in black. So in his first practice, he was second fastest, but showed a little lack of speed in final practice on Friday afternoon. But he's going to be starting from that second position tomorrow night behind Denny Hamlin in the first row. His cost this week is going to be $12,100, which is second highest on the board. He will end the night with definitely for sure with one of those famous Darlington stripes that we just talked about. I just hope that it's not a major incident with the Darlington wall so he can continue his race. But he's going to be one of those guys that really puts it up there, and I guarantee you he's going to have a scrape across that right side of that car by the time the checkered flag flies. But in my opinion, I think he's going to be one of the dominators tomorrow night, and as history tells us, not only through what we've got on the track this weekend as far as paint schemes, but as far as statistics and numbers, analytics, I mean, we're going to have more than one dominator here, brother. 367 laps. We're going to have 2, 3 possible dominators. But I think there is a possibility that Kyle Larson could be the major dominator and be a must-own driver for sure. And I'm going to have a hefty amount of ownership on Larson. I think a lot of the field will probably as well. But the crazy part is I think that this is that track that conforms to his style of racing. And with him starting up front, who knows if it's going to be him or Denny Hamlin from the start. But I think, at some point he's going to lead at least 100 laps tomorrow night, in my opinion. So I'm definitely going to have some exposure on Kyle Larson tomorrow.
Oh, so close, brother. Had you just said the track that's too tough to tame, you would have gotten all 3 track cliches out for this weekend. You went 2 of 3. I'm a little disappointed you didn't get all 3 in that breakdown of Larson. Maybe next time. All right. No, good, bro. I get your Larson play, and I'm leaning towards that way as well. But his times are off. And I don't know about you, but other than qualifying, he was middle of the board and 15th in 10-lap averages. Didn't look really fast on the long runs. I'm kind of concerned about Larson there, but I'm with you. The track suits him well, and he's going to have really high ownership, and he may be a required play. Part of me wants to fade him at that price tag, but then again, part of me doesn't. And I'm really torn on the Larson play, but I get where your head's at, and I really respect it.
Yeah, I think it's really important, too, like you talked about, that the long run speed is what's going to be important here because obviously the longer you can sustain that speed, especially to this track at Darlington, it is going to eat those tires up big time. Mm-hmm. So the guys that have a good game plan and strategy in place, because that's basically how Denny Hamlin won it last year was they just went longer on their pit strategy, and that ended up getting to where, he could win the race in the 2017 Darlington 500, Southern 500. So it's all going to come down to strategy. But I think Larson at the end of the night is going to be one of those guys that, he may finish, 6th, 7th, 8th, but I think he's going to accumulate enough of those fastest laps led to make it worth your while.
Yeah, somebody's going to be competing with for those fastest laps is my burning rubber pick, and that's Denny Hamlin at 9,900. He has 10 top 10s in 12 races here with 7 top 5s and 2 wins. This week he sits on the pole and was top of the board in 10-lap averages in practice 1 and top 5 in 10-lap averages in final practice. He is also $2,000, that's right, $2,000 less expensive than Rowdy and Larson. He's also $1,500 cheaper than Kevin Harvick and $1,000 cheaper than Truex. Hamlin has also burned people sitting on the pole 2 of the last 3 races. So will that lead people to fade? I'm kind of thinking it will, and I'm kind of thinking I want a piece of Hamlin because of it. Will this be the week, though, that he's capable of going 1-1? I think it is, and the reason why is his throwback paint scheme that dedicates none other than himself, Denny Hamlin. That's right, he's running a throwback scheme, throwing it back to his old FedEx ride. So go Denny Hamlin, way to promote your old self, which isn't that old, and maybe that will inspire you to get it done this week and break out of the starting on the pole and falling backwards. But if he can go to 1-1, Denny Hamlin may be under-owned and maybe the kind of car that can win you some lineups this week. I think I'm leaning towards at least a couple of lineups with Denny Hamlin on it this week.
I couldn't agree with you more, my man. I mean, at that price point, to have a potential guy that could be the ultimate dominator tomorrow, you got to have some exposure on him, especially after the last 3 races here with a first last season, 4th in 2016 and a 3rd in 2015. And every single one of those, he led laps. Now, granted, in 2016, he only led 13, but he obviously shown the speed this weekend, and he loves to race here. It's obviously, based off of his analytics and his numbers. I mean, the guy's got a 1st, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 1st, 7th, 2nd. I mean, the guy loves to run here at Darlington. So you got to have some exposure on Hamlin this weekend. That's just the other thing, though, is you can spread out. You can be more diverse in your lineup and not have to dip way deep down without having to use like a Larson or a Kyle Busch, somebody of that amount of money for your salary. So that's why I definitely love Hamlin this weekend. I'm definitely going to have some exposure on him, without a doubt, for sure, my man.
Now, what do you think of some of the other drivers that we haven't talked about? Like a couple of guys I'm thinking about playing are guys like Eric Jones starting 7th that might be under-owned, Kurt Busch starting 9th that might be under-owned, Almirola 12th that I think will be under-owned, Chase Elliott at 11th. That's an interesting play that not a lot of people have been on, and he has been lightning fast for the last handful of weeks. So what do you think of guys like in that range? Or maybe even the Penske cars in Logano starting 8th or Keselowski starting 13th?
I definitely like Eric Jones starting from the 7th position. His salary is a little high, this week. Makes it hard to get him in there. So that may be one of those guys that, because definitely for sure, I think he's going to be a top 10, guy here. It's just that will you be able to fit him in along with the other drivers? Joey Logano, I'm not even really thinking twice about him. I'm not even near putting the 22 in any of my lineups. Kurt Busch, definitely an interesting play. I like Kurt Busch. I do have, going to have some exposure on him. Guy starting 9th, obviously got his first win of the season at Bristol. So he's got that confidence. Plus, we all know for 100% unequivocally, he's not going to be back in the 41 next year. So he's got that motivation to keep performing and, find out where he's going to land for 2019. So I like that fire underneath Kurt Busch and to keep that momentum going, especially coming off the win at Bristol and at an $8,500 price point. I think 2 thumbs up on Kurt Busch this weekend. Chase Elliott. The only problem with Chase Elliott this weekend is his price tag. It's $10,200, and it makes it virtually impossible to get him in lineups without, having to sacrifice a possible main Dominator. But, I mean, could Chase Elliott be that Dominator? Hell yeah, he could be that Dominator. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to have some exposure on Chase Elliott. And then Eric Almirola. I mean, I may have one or two, but I don't know. Almirola just hasn't been really doing it for me in the number 10. And then as far as Brad Keselowski, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's got, some success here at Darlington. Now, granted, he's never won a race at Darlington, but, he's got, a second place finish, third place finish. And, that second place finish in 2015, he led 196 laps. So them overall, the number 2 team, they've struggled this 2018 season. And actually, he's been pretty disappointing. But he did have that second place finish last week or the weekend before. My weeks are kind of mixing in with each other, but it's one of those that he wasn't really showing much speed this weekend as far as practices are concerned. So I don't know if I can have that much ownership of Keselowski, but I definitely do like his partner in crime and Ryan Blaney with that 21st position.
I think we've pretty much wrapped up all the big dogs that we're interested in, the guys that we think could possibly lead laps and get it done for us as Dominators. Now it's time to look at the value segment and who are the guys we're looking to save some money this week. As you can tell, it's really tight when you start playing, because I'll just go ahead and concede it. Most of my lineups that I wanted to start building start with Harvick and his place differential potential with his ability to finish in the top 5. Now, I don't necessarily have him dominating per se, but he can dominate some laps. That eats up a lot of my salary, right? So I need to save money this week. Liehr, where are we looking to save money?
Well, I'm going to be going with a guy that I know we end up talking about him quite a bit on this show, and maybe it's just because it's his last season, and he was my favorite driver when I started getting into NASCAR.
Or you have a crush on him.
One thing though is, man, I'm disappointed in myself. I, got him to sign some hero cards when we were there in May, but I actually didn't get a selfie or anything with him, which I'm kicking myself in the butt for that. But I'm going to be going with Casey Kane, Double K, as my value play this weekend. This weekend, the Levine family racing car will be throwing it back to Kane's 2006 season with the Dodge Dealers vehicle, where he just had an absolute dominating season in that car. In 2006, he had 6 poles, and he also won 6 races that season, and actually won the pole that year at Darlington. But he's raced here 15 times. He's got 0 wins. He's got 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s. He's going to be starting tomorrow from the 29th position, which is awesome. Obviously, that's a great place to start, especially somebody of his caliber. As far as practices, though, he's practicing really, really well on Friday in both practices. In the first practice, he was the 11th fastest. And in the final practice, he was 7th fastest and 16th in 10-lap averages in the final practice. His cost this week is bargain at $6,300. And it's coming off a great performance at Bristol, where he finished 15th and still went down in salary this week. So in those 15 races, he's finished almost 99% of the laps that he's started here, which is obviously a crucial fact when you're here at Darlington, because obviously you want to finish the race. But he's probably going to be high owned this weekend, especially with that starting position, his salary, and the speed that he's been showing all weekend. But should be a great, great value play for your fantasy teams this weekend. And I'm going to have quite a bit of exposure on Casey Kane this weekend.
Man, that Bud ride was sweet. I miss having Budweiser as a sponsor. And I think even though Casey Kane's cost me several $1,000s over the years, I think I'll miss having Casey Kane in the sport as well. I think you're spot on here. He's going to be over-owned, probably really high-owned, but from the numbers he's putting up, it's the right play in my opinion. I don't see at his salary anybody comparable that you would want to play down there, and that's even remotely as fast as he is this weekend. I think we've seen since the information came out that he's no longer continuing to compete after the season. He's turned on an extra gear that he hasn't had before, and I think the Levine family racing team is also putting in an extra gear to try to get him a nice few finishes before he hangs up the gloves permanently. Yeah, that's all I have here. I'll just go to my value play, which is I've got a twofer. The first one is Ross Chastain at 5,200. I want to say congrats to this kid for one hell of an Xfinity race today. He will likely be way over owned because of it this weekend and will not be in even remotely competitive equipment like he was today. Nonetheless, he was leading he led two stages and won both stages and was running with the top of the sport until Harvick door checked him and he hit the wall and then took out Harvick. I love seeing the watermelon farmer, which is a true story. He's a watermelon farmer, get a ride and take advantage of it and impress a lot of people other than Kevin Harvick. That was pretty funny. But my actual value play, because I really think Chastain's going to be over-owned for what he is, so I wouldn't play him. I just wanted to give the guy props. My actual value play is a little bit different. I'm going to talk about a guy that we used to talk about all the time, but haven't had a whole lot of reason to talk about him this year. And the reason why I'm telling you to play him is he's the lowest price ever that he's been on DraftKings. And that is one Superman, Jimmy Johnson. And he's $8,300. And he's also starting 20th. And has top 10s and 10-lap averages in both practices. And with Blaney starting 21st and Harvick starting 22nd, I think a lot of people are going to overlook Jimmy Johnson this week at that $8,300 price tag. When Jimmy can be a top 10 car like he's proving to be in practice, he's going to pay off. And at that $8,300 price tag, I just want to gobble up a piece of Jimmy Johnson this week. I don't have much arguments other than the speed and the fact that he's literally cheaper than he's ever been on DraftKings. Liehr, are you going to tell me I'm wrong, or are you also liking some Jimmy?
Oh, man, I love the JJ this weekend. The future Hall of Famer, dude. 7-time champion, and he's $8,300 and starting from the 20th spot. You can't get much better than that as far as a guy that is probably, he hasn't been exactly a top 10 car all year, but definitely with the way he's been coming off the truck this weekend, I think that they definitely have a top 10 car for sure. And who knows, even maybe a possible top 5. But I definitely think that at an $8,300 price point, especially when it seems like a lot of the lineups this weekend are going to be studs, duds. Don't you think that's kind of the route that it's really going to this week? So if you
I think it's what salary forces you to do this week.
Right, exactly. So I think if you kind of want to get yourself, if you're specifically targeting Jimmy, you can kind of work your way around it. But the middle tier guys is kind of going to be I think in my opinion, a lower percentage owned when it comes to this weekend and tomorrow night's race. But I definitely love Jimmy Johnson. Guy's got 3 wins here. And we obviously know his track history with 19 starts. So, the guy's been around and he knows, how to race the lady in black. And I think that he's going to definitely come and hopefully show something tomorrow night. And how awesome would it be? We haven't really heard anything about what's going to happen with Jimmy Johnson. We obviously know that Lowe's is leaving him after this season. So his last season with the only sponsor that he's ever known in the sport of NASCAR, and to give them a win here at Darlington on Throwback Weekend, I think would be pretty damn cool.
Remember what I was saying earlier about NASCAR's problem? Like when the greatest driver in the history of the sport, arguably, can't keep a sponsor on his ride, like the sport has problems. I couldn't believe I forgot to scroll down where we were where I had the information that Jimmy has 3 wins, 9 top 5s, 12 top 10s here. Now I realize his last 3 finishes were of 19th, 33rd, and 12th, but before that he finished 1st, 4th, and 3rd, any one of which would just massively pay off at his salary and his starting position. So I'm all about some Jimmy this weekend, and part of me is looking towards that more balanced approach because I really think that where the salaries are leading people are going to be a stud-dud lineup this week.
Yep, exactly.
I think some other guys in the value segment, especially for place differential, maybe he's not necessarily a value, but he's a great place differential play, in my opinion, is Clint Boyer this week. He is a little pricey at the 8,900 range, but starting 17th, that's really good value in my opinion. Any of the other guys that are more traditionally valued that you like, I'm guessing you're going to talk about Jamie Mack starting 31st at being 7,400. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, as far as Jamie Mack is concerned, I think let alone he's going to be a highly owned guy just based off where he's starting at. But, he blew his motor before they even got out for first practice. So, they're in a backup motor in that car. So, but, I mean, starting from the 31st position, I mean, there's only really one direction for that guy to go, and that's up. So I think he's going to be massively, massively owned. And then as far as other than that, we already talked about Casey Kane. I kind of like Ty Dillon a little bit too. Last year Ty Dillon finished 13th here at Darlington, but we all know that he'll probably come with a high ownership percentage, especially at the $5,400 price point. And then the only other person that kind of strikes my fancy just a little bit, and it's weird for me to be saying this, but I mean Ricky Stenhouse Jr. $7,700 starting from the 25th position. Mm-hmm. Kind of an intriguing play, but as we know, Sticky Ricky, he never fails to disappoint. So I took him last week at Bristol, and of course he had a crappy finish. So yeah,
Sticky Ricky, man, if you don't have him, he'll burn you, and if you do have him, he will burn you. I've never seen a driver like that I play the same. You and I have the same luck with the guy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm right there with you with Clint Boyer. The only thing with Clint Boyer is, it's the same thing with Ryan Blaney this weekend, is those two guys, and I know we talked about this, but those two guys have awesome starting positions, but they just have putrid track history here. Like, they have the worst luck at Darlington. So maybe they throw that out the door this weekend and actually, have a couple good finishes. So we'll see.
Right. Do you play against the luck this week and hope that drives down ownership percentage? Or do you think other people are going to this race is maybe the coolest that I can remember for this season, in the sense that I genuinely don't know where people are going to go strategy-wise with a lot of the information that's out there. And with the salary constraints, it really is forcing you to make some decisions that we haven't had to make in a lot of races.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the part that I like the best, is it's a big question mark, and it's not anything that's clear and concise. Something that, okay, obviously we got three guys starting from the rear, or, this person starting from the pole and has just, had huge domination here, has the fastest car this weekend. Like, we don't have any of that. I mean, it's all kind of just open. So I think there's going to be a lot of different strategies this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, brother.
Yeah, I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite races. I absolutely love the throwback schemes. Do you have a favorite throwback scheme? I'm kind of liking the Ernie Irvan throwback Skittles. Like, it's just sick. It takes me back to the day. You got any?
You would go there, wouldn't you?
Oh, come on, dude. It's a sweet ride. And I've been complaining on this show that I don't have a fitted Skittles race hat for 3 years now.
I know. I like the tradition of the sport. I think Keselowski's throwback with, Rusty Walsh's 1990 vehicle is awesome. Obviously, yesterday, today's Saturday, right? Well, now it's Sunday, but on Friday, when they revealed, Austin Dillon's number 3 with the, throwback to Earnhardt Sr., the good wrench gray car. So that was a pretty sweet scheme. And of course, the guy that I've already talked about, Casey Kane, throwing it back to his original Budweiser car. But other than that, man,
dude, hold on, I got to give another one. Matt DiBenedetto's Jeff Burton throwback with the lightning bolt. Like, it looks sick.
I do like that one as well. But I do have to say, probably my favorite one, and one that I remember the most, is going to be Michael McDowell's first Love Stop location. That paint scheme on there, just the way that it just takes me back to like the 1980s.
I mean, I can't believe neither one of us said that Denny Hamlin FedEx throwback that looks almost the same as all the FedEx cars. They're cool. I love the FedEx sponsorship, but It just looks like an older version of that car.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's still the whole Denny Hamlin throwing it back to himself. Just kind of, come on, man.
Dude, hey, it's the reason why Denny Hamlin is going to do well. That's my thought process here. All right, man. Other than my terrible logic for my Denny Hamlin pick, what should we send to the garage this week? In case you're new to the show, this is a segment where we talk trash on drivers. Maybe it's NASCAR. Maybe it's something else outside the sport of NASCAR.
Platform, DraftKings, or FanDuel.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Whatever.
No one is safe from the trash we talk on this show. Liehr, who are you talking trash on and sending to the garage this week, buddy?
Well, by the way, I'm sure you probably are all still sitting there in suspense while you're watching the show and wondering, well, Liehr, what the hell happened last weekend or 2 weeks ago on your birthday? Because we don't know. We haven't found anything out. Well, long story short, Poppa talked about how he was disappointed he wasn't going to be able to hang out with me on my birthday, to watch the race, do all this. So basically, day plays out, 11:30. I'm ready. I got my bags packed. Lady's like, all right, let's go. So hop in the car. She's driving us because I don't have any clue where we're going. And basically start heading north. And here in Kansas City, if any of you are familiar with it, the airport is like all the way on the north side of town. So we start heading that direction. I'm like, okay, thinking to myself, all right, we're going to the airport. And then basically pull into this place called the Argosy Casino. And she's like, well, we got a place here, a room here for the night, and we're going to end up going to a concert. And I'm like, great. Okay, that sounds like fun. So I'll spend the afternoon doing some gambling, won some money. It's pretty cool. And then she's like, okay, we're going to go eat somewhere first. Well, there's this place in North Kansas City. It's one of my favorite places here in Kansas City. If you ever get a chance, you come to Kansas City. It's called Smokin' Guns Barbecue. Some of the best burn-ins ever. And obviously also made famous by Guy Fieri on his show, the Food Network. But if you go there, you definitely got to have the triple D, which is smoked turkey, brisket, and then burn-ins. And then they have these awesome mac and cheese bites there too. They're pretty good.
This commercial not paid for by Smoking Guns, by the way.
Right, exactly. But anyways, so we pull up in the Uber, and I figured out, okay, we must be going to Smoking Guns, and she couldn't tell me. But then I see this big gentleman walking across the street, and it happens to be Poppa. And by the way, this is, I don't know, 45 minutes before the race starts, and we're already talking on the phone. I was basically letting him know what was happening for the night, and of course he didn't say shit or anything to me about what was going on. I was like, that's Big Poppa. And she was like, oh my God, it is Big Poppa. And I said, did you invite him? And she said, no, I didn't invite him. And I was like, well, I didn't know where we were going, so I didn't invite him. So we walked in, and kind of like, little light back here just kind of clicked on, and they have this nice upper outer space outside with a great view of downtown and a little stage there for a band and all that. Walk up there, and all my friends and family and all that stuff's up there. So it was really, really cool. I had a great time, and I don't know, probably about an hour into it, I asked Kim, I said, so we still going to the concert? And she's like, we're not going to any concert. So, but no, it was a fun time, man. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it, appreciated it, brother, and it was good spending time with you on my 40th birthday and had a great time. But
that was the longest way possible to say that you had a surprise birthday party that I covered for by sending you to the garage. Like that. And let's be clear, dude, you wouldn't have seen me crossing the street had you not been calling me on the phone talking about your lineup, so I couldn't even leave my house or get ready because Liehr had to have me go through every one of his lineups. I'm like, I've got a 35-minute drive to the North Kansas City that I've got to get done. And Liehr just keeps going on and on about his NASCAR lineups. And I can't let him know that I'm going to his surprise birthday party. But I'm glad you had a good time, brother. And let's get it back from the storytelling and get to our picks. I'm glad you had a great birthday.
Well, my going to garage pick this weekend is pretty much a no-brainer. But Bowman has only raced here twice in his whole entire career. And the last time that he drove here was all the way back in 2015, if you can believe that. But granted, He's in completely different equipment as he comes back here to the Lady in Black, but he's going to be fighting to keep his 15th place right now in the standings for the playoffs. So he's obviously, wants to have a great finish here. But he's going to be starting tomorrow night from the 4th position. And in my opinion, that's just way too high, way too high for a guy that just doesn't have the experience here. There's other drivers and cars that just simply are better than the number 88 team right now at this point in the season. And I know he's only $7,600 this week, but to me, it's pretty simple to stay away from the number 88 this weekend. He has looked pretty fast in practice, which I am surprised by. But, this is one of the longest, grueling physical races of the year. And someone who hasn't raced here in 3 years, it's definitely going to be difficult for him to get a top 5 finish. I don't see him even finishing in the top 10. I'm going to be avoiding Alex Bowman for sure tomorrow night.
Uh-oh, dude. The last time we did one of these like this, both of the drivers we recommended were on the winning lineup. So, yeah, I'm going with Newman, who qualified 6th. Like, I just don't see a way that he holds this position. I see him falling backwards. I realize he's $7K, and that's a great price tag, but starting 6th, he literally has to hold that position or lead laps in order to pay off even at the 7K. I don't think he's going to do either. I think he's going backwards. Now, like I said, last time we did this, both of the guys did finish top 10 and we're on the winning lineup. So take that for what you will, but I think we're right here, and I don't see a way in which I play either Bowman or Newman. Now, I'd had thoughts of playing Bowman, but I wasn't going to play him starting 4th. I really wanted him to be where his teammates starting, and Billy Byron, and starting 10th. I really wanted to play him there, but not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent, so...
I'm actually, opposite of you on Newman. Not completely opposite, but, before the weekend even started, I was like, man, Newman's really awesome here.
Right.
He's got really low salary as far as $7,000 when, the tournaments and everything came out on Wednesday. And then, of course, he comes out this weekend, and in both practices, he's practicing in the top 5, top 10, comes out, and then all of a sudden, today in qualifying lays down 6th fastest, and I'm just like, gosh darn it. But honestly, for me, I'm still going to have some exposure on Newman. That's just the complete opposite of Bowman. Newman's raced here,
right,
a ton of times to where Bowman hasn't. So Newman knows what he's doing, and obviously has the speed this weekend to where Bowman's got the speed, but he just doesn't have the experience. So, and you save, $600 in going with Newman. Plus, I think that 6th place start is probably going to scare quite a few people off from him. So, if he can, hold his position and, maybe get 8th or 7th or 6th where he's starting from, at 7K, I know it's not exactly what you're looking for out of somebody like that, but when you can, spend $400 more and get Jamie McMurray, starting 31st. But as a guy that maybe you play him with McMurray or, some other combo, but it is a guy that I think is going to come with a low ownership, but definitely could still get a top 10.
See, I just wanted to save the $400 and play his teammate Austin Dillon, who's starting 18th. Like, I think, and get more place differential. I just like that play better. And the fact that I save money and I don't have to take the risk of as much negative place differential with.
No, you're definitely right on that. $400 savings and, 12 place differentials there, points. It's huge. And Austin Dillon, we didn't really talk about him, but he finished 4th here last year. So that is also a value sneaky play that I definitely like this weekend as well.
All right, kids. I think that pretty much wraps up our picks for the week. We'll have Jamie give us 2 weeks ago finishers in the season-long Rubbing His Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR League. And then we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes and get out of here. Liehr?
All right, brother. Well, congratulations to Melon Farmer. He had a score of 344 points. He had Clint Boyer, who absolutely had a dominating performance, starting 16th and finished 6th, but led 120 laps for 96 points. And then, of course, like everybody else, that we all had Kyle Busch exposure. And, man, how disappointing was that after, lap 3 or whatever, getting in that accident. But he finished with a 30.5. Then he had Landon Castle, who had a nice place differential there from 39th to 25th for 33 points. Ty Dillon, 32nd to 21st for 34 points. And then Chase Elliott was also another great play. Started second, finished third, but led 112 laps for 90.5 points. And then Eric Jones with that 14th starting position and finishing in the top 5 with a 5th place for 60 points for the 344. So congratulations to Melon Farmer.
Fading the big 3 is what it took last week.
It did.
All right, guys, we want to thank you as always for tuning in. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and guys, have a great one. Let's win some money this weekend. It's the last chance for the qualifiers. I know Liehr's all aboard on the qualifier.
I'm pushing all in.
I'm entering my usual. We'll see if we can't get it done with one of us getting a seat, even though I'm a major dog to Liehr's max entry in the $15.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. It's going to be awesome. I really enjoy this weekend, Labor Day weekend. Hope you guys have a fantastic 3-day weekend. Nothing like Sunday night racing, 500, the Bojangles Southern 500, over 367 laps. It's going to be a long race, but it's going to be a sick sweat, and I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully at the end of it, get me a seat and win some money along with it. And hopefully we both do good, and maybe I'll win the 500 and you can win the 15, and we'll call it a day. And thank you guys for watching the show. Have a fantastic weekend. I will definitely be around tomorrow to interact. Sorry, I didn't have much interaction 2 weeks ago during my birthday day, but definitely be around to be more involved this weekend. So good luck to everybody this weekend, and let's have a fantastic weekend.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always. Have a good one. Later.
See you guys. Have a good one.